Hi, and welcome to Screens in Focus podcast, where we share and connect as we spotlight our favorite shows and movies. I'm Diana, and today we're talking about the Walking Dead series. We're going to cover the finale, the best moments, the spinoffs, and so much more. We're also going to talk a bit about The Last of Us, and we'll have some TV and movie recommendations. Sam is joining me today. Hi, Sam. How are you?
Happy Galentine's Day, Diana. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Happy Galentine's Day to you too. All right. We're going to be talking about The Walking Dead, The Last of Us are both apocalyptic series. So it made me think about apocalyptic movies. So I thought that would be a great question of the day. So I would love to know, what is one of your favorite apocalyptic movies?
So when I saw this question, it made me think, and I love apocalyptic movies and post-apocalyptic things. I'm not really sure what that says about me because I don't, but I had to think about the first one that I can really remember watching and really enjoying was the original, the Resident Evil movie from 2002. I have very fond memories of going with my family to see it, and then we watch it in our house a lot, and yeah, I really enjoyed it, so I think it holds a special place in my heart. How about you though?
By the way, my husband loves all of those. Those are his favorite. Just FYI. Yeah.
Has he watched the TV show?
He does not.
So it's a watch. We'll say that. We had fun watching it, but I wouldn't say it is the best thing on television, but I had fun. So yeah. I would recommend it.
Yeah. He's actually a movies person. He'd rather watch a movie because he wants something to end.
I get that.
And just have that. So, of course, he does watch The Walking Dead, but he has not been so inclined to watch that show. But he loves all the movies. And for me, one of my favorite is I Am Legend. I love that movie. Will Smith playing this scientist, Robert Neville, who is a survivor. This man just living on his own. It's
with his dog, though.
Oh, I know. With his dog, thank goodness, because I can't even imagine what it would have been like without his dog. It's with other shows that we see, there's a group of people, right? Yep. But here it's just him and his dog. And I think that says a lot for Will Smith. And this was a while back. I think it was
2004.
Yeah, it was in the early 2000s, I think.
The early aughts.
And for him to carry this movie, because it's just him talking to himself or talking to the dog, that says a lot about his acting chops. So
2007.
Oh, 2007.
My goodness. I thought it was earlier.
Yeah, but I just love it. That is one of my favorite apocalyptic movies. So friends out there, let us know, what is your favorite apocalyptic movie? You can reach out to us at Screens in Focus on Twitter or Instagram. You can also go to our website, screensinfocus.com, and or email me at screensinfocus@gmail.com, because I really want to know, and I want you to share it with me. The links are in the show notes. Okay, let's get to The Walking Dead. And yes, we are revisiting The Walking Dead. It's been a couple of months since it ended, but, I reached out to you and I thought, do you want to do kind of a retrospective on the past 11 seasons? And you're all, yes, I'm in, let's do it. So
couldn't wait.
Yeah. So the show, it's lasted for 11 seasons, 12 years. It began October 31st, 2010, and ended November 20th, 2022. And I watched the series when it premiered. And to be honest, I wasn't a zombie watcher. I didn't really watch zombie TV movies or shows, although there really wasn't that many shows back then, because I think I had trouble getting over people eating humans. I thought, I don't want to watch this. But what I realized in watching this show, it was so much more than that. It was about humanity and hope and also despair and these characters. And I was just completely hooked. And I have watched all through the years, and I have never wavered in my loyalty. I know a lot of people jumped ship and said, nah, we're out after Glenn and Abraham were killed off. And I'm sure throughout the other seasons. But for me, it is my favorite TV show ever. And it's had a huge impact on me. It is what started me starting this podcast, because I wanted to share my excitement for the show and the characters. And so I just have a deep love for this show. But I would like to know from you, why did you tune in, and what is it about the show do you think had an impact on its audience?
So I remember I was in college when The Walking Dead had come out, and at the time, Netflix wasn't a streaming service. You had to get the DVDs. And I remember hearing my friends talk about it, and I didn't have cable because I was a poor college student. And cable at the time was really expensive. And so I thought, I'll use my Netflix. It's only like a disc. If I don't like it, it's no big deal. And I was like hooked. Like the first episode it is so creepy. It is so just like suspenseful, and the characters are like relatable, because like this guy wakes up in a hospital bed not knowing anything's been in a coma for how long. And then, like you said, like I really did think that the walkers would be the biggest threat, and it kind of is in the beginning because they're adjusting to the world. But it's humanity that is like the real villain, I guess, and just see how people like how quick they are to do whatever they can. And then I watched it kind of alone for a few years, like when it was on Netflix. Like I really enjoyed it, but didn't have cable or just never made it a point to watch. And then I was talking with a family member and I mentioned, oh, The Walking Dead's on tomorrow, so I'm excited. And they were like, wait, you watch? And then it just became this weekly thing for like 3 or 4 years. Like my partner and I would go out, and it's like an hour drive. We would drive an hour, like every Sunday. We'd have dinner, hang out, watch The Walking Dead, then drive home. And I loved it. And like, I was one of those people that after the Glen dumpster fire, I didn't stop watching, but they really like lost me for a bit. But because it was a family thing, I stuck around. And because I stuck around for that, it got better. You know, I think like Angela Kang did things to make it a lot better. And so I stayed for that. And then at the end, I was like, well, I might as well finish it out. But I think what The Walking Dead did well is that they didn't put it in a fictional town. It's in Georgia. You know, they're outside of Atlanta. So it made it really like relatable. And then the characters aren't perfect. Like they do mess up. They make stupid decisions. And I think that was really, you know, I think that it really helped to have a character that you could relate to, because, you know, people do eat people and that's just not relatable. And, you know, at least it shouldn't be.
Yeah. Oh, I think that it came out at a perfect time, because at that time you had to wait for the next episode to come out. It wasn't something at that time that you could really binge like you can now. Now you could go on Netflix and watch it. But I think something about that was also a draw, besides the storytelling and the characters, and there really not being any zombie TV series out there, which was a huge thing also. Also that it was from a comic book, because I think there was a lot of fans there too. So I think the timing was really crucial in making this the hit that it was. Plus, just like for me, I thought I was watching a zombie movie and I didn't really want to watch a zombie movie. It wasn't until I figured out, no, it's about these characters. It's about the story. It's about what these people represent. So I think that has been the impact of why people watch it and love it, because I've invested in these characters. And all these memes have come out after it, which I was
Coral.
Coral. There are certain, you know, scenes where Rick is talking to Carl, like when he finds out about Lori, and they use those. You can see right now. Well, none of you can see, but I can see right now Sam holding her head because she knows exactly what I'm talking about. And they just put all these other jokes on top of those pictures of Rick talking to Carl.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just hysterical. They're like dad jokes and all this other stuff. It's a crack up. So
I'm not gonna lie though, my family, like my household, we do not say Carl. It is Coral. If we think about it, but like if we know we're gonna say the word Carl,
yeah.
which doesn't come up often, but like, or if it sounds close to Carl or Coral, we say it. Like, it's changed our household.
See,
It's just so silly. And like, I think for that moment, it is such a heartbreaking scene. Like, Rick has just found out his wife is dead and his son had to kill her.
Yeah.
And then he says Coral, and it's just, oh, so good. I'm sure Andrew Lincoln doesn't like it anymore because I'm sure everyone walks up to him and says it. And
I know, that's so probably true.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. All right. We're going to talk about the finale before we dig into our favorite moments that we just loved within 11 seasons, because you and I haven't really talked about the finale too much. So we did cover this in a podcast. It's episode 178, and I will have it in the show notes. But I just rewatched it again, and I was reminded how I had said previously, I was exhausted because even though I knew certain characters were going to live, I was still freaking out. I don't know what it is about how they filmed The Walking Dead. Even though I know someone is surviving, I'm still scared. They can do that. That's how good it is. And so I was feeling the pressure, the intensity in watching the finale. It really, I was just reminded rewatching it again. So I want to know what stood out to you. And I also want to know if you were satisfied with how it ended.
So I also rewatched it on Saturday. And I'm not as high on it as you are, I will be honest. And on a second watch, I still enjoyed it, but I was a little underwhelmed. Like, I was reminded of how I wasn't afraid for half the characters because they announced all the spin-offs like beforehand, which has nothing to do with the show itself. It is the people in charge. So I feel bad that it's taking away from the show because that's not fair. I think it also wrapped up a little too neatly. I think the drama behind the comic book creators at AMC really spoiled things, and it's a real shame because the show itself, like the episode it had everything. It was intense. It was, people died. There was tragedy. There was trauma, and they chose kind of wrong moments sometimes. Like they had a really dramatic scene that was meant to like draw tears, and I don't even remember the guy's name. I can tell you one character that's her actress name. I don't even know like her character name. And it's just like they focus such a heavy scene on characters that hadn't been around all that much or like were not good characters, like not likable because of what their characters were doing. And so that was like a letdown. But there were things that I enjoyed. I really enjoyed all the parallels between the first episode and even like the episodes in the season and then the final episode. Daryl locked Judith in the room like Shane did with Rick. The walkers trying to get into the front of the hospital, like in the department store. And I think even a walker then had a rock in its hand. The guts being used to walk through the huge crowd, like in the episode where they walked, called Guts, where Glenn got to drive that really cool car. The group being stuck in the ambulance, like Rick being stuck in the tank and then getting help, and then them having to climb up on like a fire escape or like a ladder. Like I think Glenn and Rick had to do that as well, and I think a walker tried going up after them. So there were really nice parallels, and I like the variant stuff. But like I said in the episode before, I wish they would have brought that up like earlier, not in the spin-offs. They should have done more throughout the whole season instead of like the final 3 episodes that are introducing this thing. Because that is really intense. That is terrifying. Now they have this whole new threat that there's walkers that can open doors and not quite use guns, but they like have a weapon. And on the second watch, I didn't worry for any of the characters that didn't get spin-offs but could have died. I was like, what if they kill off Carol? Because she's not part of the Daryl show now. So I was like, I don't have to worry about that. What about you, though?
Well, like I said, I was exhausted because, and I already knew people were going to live, but I just thought the scene in the beginning with Daryl and Carol and Judith and just running through that hospital with the walkers at their heels, I was kind of scared. And then with Rosita, that part, she was so badass. And I watched it again, her falling into that crowd of walkers. And I was trying to see if I could see when she got bit, but of course they're not showing that part. But I guess for me, the emotional part is what drives it for me always. And so that part between Eugene and her, when he comes over to her, he kind of already knows. He's watching her watch the baby Coco, and he says something to the effect like he already kind of suspects something. And then she confirms it basically without them really saying very much. She tells Eugene to pull his shit together. I'm still right here. Oh, and my tears. And I've seen it 4 times already, right? And the tears started to stream down my face. And then Eugene saying, I love you so much. And then she says, don't tell anybody right now. I'm waiting to tell people. And then he has to go back and, sit.
I don't know.
and just pretend like he doesn't know. And so that was really heartbreaking to me. Also, another one of my favorite moments in this was the conversation between Maggie and Negan, because I really do think that was probably, out of the whole finale, that was done perfectly for me. It really was. I can't imagine a better conversation between those two, because for him, he was so heartfelt. He meant it. He got it. He finally said, with him experiencing that same thing that she did with being on his knees, trying to save his family. His wife is pregnant. So he's in the same exact position that she was. And for him to say, I realize, what you lost at my hands. And for her to say, thank you. I now know I can't forgive you. Oh gosh, it was so perfect. But I think the way she delivered it, she wasn't, her delivery was perfect too, because she was being very vulnerable and telling him the truth. Like, she was accepting him as being a part of that group, but saying, look, if I can't look at you, it's because of this. So she says, you've earned your place with us, which I appreciated that she said that. And so I felt like she accepted him, and also I appreciate when she said, I don't want my son to see, basically like someone has a hold on me, that someone can, really bring out the worst in me. She doesn't want that. So she's going to try to change and not living with all of that and everything that she's feeling. But when she said, if I do see you and I walk away, it's because I don't want to have those memories of Glenn in that way. And this, everything that she said about Glenn, of course, I love Glenn. So for her to say all that stuff was just like so moving to me. And so I felt that the writers really knew how to write the scenes between those two. And I thought it was just really well done. Of course, yes, I cried during that too. So those were the really pivotal moments for me. I loved how also Mercer and Ezekiel teamed up, got everybody, together. And it was basically, we're taking another stand again, because this is what we do. We're really good at this, and we're going to fight against the enemy. We're going to be here. We want to save this place. It's worth it. And so I love those moments also. I thought it was just really, that part of it was really well done. Now, the first couple times that I watched it, I really appreciated the Rick and Michonne aspect of it. But when I watched it this last time, it was a little bit clunky how they put it in there. I think it needed to be in there because of the spinoffs, and we needed to see where it was. But I don't know. I think it could have been done maybe a little bit differently than how they did it. Although I did like how they showcased all the people that have come before them that are gone or that have had a huge impact on the show. So I loved seeing as Rick was talking about all of them. But then they switched back to Judith and RJ. So that part just felt a little clunky to me, I would say. But all in all, I did appreciate the finale because I love the show. So of course I'm going to appreciate it. All right. So the Walking Dead series, 11 seasons, there's a lot of heroic and badass moments. So I want to know from you, what are some of your favorites?
So the first thing that popped into my head was when Rick bit that man's throat. And then I started thinking about all the things that Rick would do because he was a very heroic character, like heroic person. And I would always joke with my family that if you knew he was sweaty, he was doing like a heroic thing. It didn't matter what it was. And that man was always sweaty. And then when you think about like the times that Rick couldn't be, because there were times where Rick was, chasing Lori in the jail and stuff, Carol had to step up. Carol has so many moments where she's just this heroic badass. And why I think she's not this like she's not an imposing force when you look at her, like just at like face value, but that is a resourceful human. And she watches because she knows people are going to underestimate her. And that is what I love about her. Like she's quick to think on her feet. She uses the things around her. She keeps really cool under pressure. Like in one of the episodes when the Pamela Milton's people were coming to take the kids or do something or other, and Carol like saw them, recognized that they were not good, like got the kids to wherever she needed to go, and she was like ready within like a minute. And like most people, myself included, would be like, we gotta, and then at that point I'm caught. And you can't, when it comes to Carol, you can't not think of her better half, our man Daryl. He is like such a badass. That time he took out that tank in Alexandria and a whole bunch of other like things. What I loved the most about the finale was Princess. She finally showed up in her princess outfit. She had her gun. Like she like took down some people. She jumped into Mercer's arms, which wouldn't we all like that? I just love them together.
Yeah.
And Aaron, he's such a great character. Ross Marquand doesn't get enough credit. I think his character is just so badass to like go out in the world like alone and try to bring back people. Now I know he did it in a safe way where he would like scope out the people, see if they were, do whatever, but I can't even imagine. And then Rosita, she was always a badass character, but I think when she got more of a storyline, then she became like this heroic badass character. Like I can't imagine having an infant like strapped to my chest trying to scale a wall and then take out walkers and like while you're doing that and the baby is just like asleep or what?
Yeah, right.
She was probably crying at that point, but And then Ezekiel, because he tamed a tiger. Like this man's like, the apocalypse isn't dangerous enough. Let me go find a tiger to tame. And I love him too because he's this heroic badass, but not in like a violent way. He's like diplomatic and he will talk you down, and that also takes some guts and things like that. And then, I know Morgan hasn't been on the show in a little bit, but he shoved his fist in, like, a man's torso. And I don't know if the guy had, like, a cut or something, but he definitely, like, did some things when he was in, like, the bad Morgan phase where he wasn't, I think he was clearing, I don't know. But Morgan was a badass as well, He had that whole town rigged and then had the bravery to leave it, which is, also great. But how about you? Anything from any of the episodes?
I love all those points that you brought up because some of them are ones that are so true and accurate, but I would not have thought about it. I would not have thought about Aaron. Yes, Ezekiel, I just had mentioned how brave he was to want to rebuild this community with Mercer, but I just wouldn't have thought to bring him up. So I feel like you brought up a lot of really good people.
Oh, remember earlier when you said you asked me if I had something to say and I couldn't remember?
Yeah.
I remembered. So The Walking Dead is one of the first TV shows that made me care so much about a character that I cried.
Aww.
It was the first time. I mean, I guess...
What was it? What was the moment?
Oh my gosh.
Do you know?
I'm trying to think. It was probably... Honestly, it was probably early on in season 1, when Jim predicted all the attacks and stuff, was digging those graves, and then he got bit, and then he made the brave choice to, like, leave. I remember just being like, that must be so terrifying knowing that you're going to die, and rather than be with people that, you know, that you like and trust, you know, all that stuff, you choose to go alone because you're a risk to them, and you don't know what's going to happen, and that made me cry.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Oh my goodness.
Yep.
So for me, the badass moments there's a lot of them with Carol. And of course, I cannot not mention when she blew up Terminus, because that was probably one of the most badass moments of The Walking Dead. We were just about to see all of our group, all their blood taken out of them as they're, you know, the guys are ready to do it, cutting their necks and everything. And they're all tied up. And I just remember watching that episode, and we had no idea how they were going to get out of that, because we didn't even think about where Carol was or what she was doing. We didn't even know she was capable of that.
No.
I think that might have been one of the first times that she really did something like this. So I just think that was such a cool scene, how she did that. It was great. It was one of the best moments. And she has other fantastic moments that stand out to me too, because she's always
thinking.
Yeah,
she's planning.
She's always thinking, always planning. Oh, and she does it, like you said, in that unassuming manner, which is so great.
Like when she had gotten attacked on the road, I think, and she ended up at the kingdom, and she first meets Ezekiel, and she's pretending to be this like frail woman, like so meek, and meanwhile she's like stealing stuff already, and you're like, Carol. I may have conflated two things, but she definitely was pretending to be like way sicker than she was, and I think Ezekiel was like, I think he was onto her shit like immediately. Which is why they were perfect together.
Yes.
He'd call her on her stuff.
So true. Also, Michonne. I mean, she was so good with that katana and just, you know, walking around with these walkers as her pets and walker deterrents. I mean, she was the first one that we saw with that, right? Cutting out their jaws to be walker deterrents, and just thinking to do that. And she's had a lot of badass moments. But I was thinking about when she met up with the governor and she went into the room and she saw the heads, and she thought there was a little girl inside in the closet there, and comes to find out that no, the governor was keeping his zombie daughter there. And he comes in, and then she ends up killing his daughter, and of course he freaks out, and they get in a big old fight. That's when she gets the glass and gets his eye. Oh my God, that moment. And then also at the end being the one to, doesn't she stab him, the governor?
You know what? I was trying to think of that.
I think he's dying, and then Tara's sister comes and I think shoots him. That was the ending.
Who's Tara's sister?
So the one that had the daughter, when the governor was trying to...
Oh, her sister! I completely forgot about her.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, because they were calling him like John or something.
Yeah, they were calling him... Oh gosh, now that name's going to kill me.
Sorry.
That name was. Yes, but all of that. She's the one who comes, and because her daughter ends up getting eaten by the walkers, and so she comes carrying her, and then she sees everything that's happened and who he is, and so she shoots him. But before that, it was Michonne that got to him. So there's just so many moments with Michonne that she is just so badass.
I think just from like the moment she stepped on onto the screen, like she saves Andrea by like decapitating those walkers, then she's just like shadow. Like so good.
She is.
I was so excited to see her.
Exactly. Me too. And with Rick, of course, Rick is at the top of my list because to me, everything he does is just so heroic. I just love him. And I love when he's running. He's always running really fast, and he's got his hand at his hip by his gun. I love to watch him run. I do.
Well, because, he's going to, like, handle things. He's ready,
He is, and he's quick. He's good at it. Yes. And for me, the same thing when he bit out Joe the Claimer's neck. That was so bad ass. It's like, no, you got me all tied up. I'm going to use what I can to get back at you, especially after what you're doing to my son and, Michonne and Daryl and everybody else. So
my family doesn't really, like, swear at all. And I do. But when I'm around them, I don't really say anything. But at that moment, I was like, and I may have, like, something may have come out, and I might have been like, I am sorry. And they were like, we get it. Because it was just so unexpected. We were like, what the, hell, yeah. I'm sure is what I hopefully said. I don't remember now. It's been years, but.
Yeah. I know.
Like and great. If a TV show can get you to, like, audibly gasp or say something, then it's really good,
I know. Yeah. And then Daryl, you had talked about a little bit about Daryl, but there's so many moments with Daryl, so many. And just him riding his bike, that's badass in itself. And, the grenade launcher and just all kinds of things when he's fighting at the prison against the governor and just the grenades and everything that he uses that he can get his hands on. And when he kills Dawn, who had just killed Beth, and she looks up to say, it's kind of in slow motion, she looks up to say, I didn't mean to. And he just steps out and just shoots her point blank. Man, there's just so many moments. Oh, and then fighting Beta. He's fighting this huge man beast.
He had help, though, at the end. Negan helped him.
Yeah. Oh, well, but he had a physical fight with him earlier on when they were in that area with the elevator and all
right.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. When he, like, tossed a Beta into the elevator shaft.
Yes. All of that. When he fought him then. And then, then he's
That's right. I forgot about that.
Got him with the 2 knives down in his mask.
That was so like, nerve-wracking, that whole fight. Because, like, Ryan Hurst is, like, 6'5", nor an enormous man. Norman Reedus isn't small, but anyone's small compared to 6'5",
Yes.
So he has to be, like, quick like a wildcat, know?
Yeah. And the fact he's badass because he can always infiltrate all these groups.
Yep.
Always. He can always do it. He's so good at it. So, yeah. And then every turn our group, when they bond together, they are just so heroic together, even though it feels like the odds are against them. But they're like, you know what? We have to stand together. We have to fight. We have to figure it out. They don't just like run off. They're like, no, we're standing together. We're going to do it. So that's totally badass to me too. And also you had already mentioned Rosita, but I just think that she especially shined this last whole season. Just everything that she did. Having a child kind of changes you too, because you're not just living for yourself, you're living for someone else. So I'm just really glad how her character, she was already heroic, she was already badass, but I just feel it was spotlighted and highlighted in this last season. So,
this might be a question that you may not be able to answer. Do we know who took her baby? Was it Eugene and his lady friend?
No, I thought we saw she was a little like older. She was a little girl. She was with Father Gabriel.
Oh, I forgot about Father Gabe and Rosita being together. I'm sorry. I completely forgot.
Yeah, I think we saw her. We didn't even talk about Father Gabriel. He totally turned into
another
a badass.
He really did.
Yeah, he was this coward when we met him. And then it's like, what? Wait, and I do have to say, Judith is a little badass in herself too, right? For being such a little girl and everything that she's done. And wow. So sorry. I'm so glad that took a moment to transition to our next segment of the most shocking moments or the biggest betrayals that we saw. So tell me some of what stood out to you in that regard.
So I have a couple that are actual betrayals, and then I have 2 that are quote unquote betrayals that are just kind of like they're my opinions. I think it's like a joke. So I think Maggie wanting to betray Rick was shocking to me. I thought, she had just kind of grown up with him. They'd grown together and they had this group, and like, I know it wasn't what she wanted, but like, I just was shocked that she couldn't see that it was the best for the group, And then and then she had two people on her side. Wasn't it Daryl, and Jesus? Wasn't he weren't they both on like her side?
I don't know if it was Daryl.
I think he did.
I do remember.
I'm not 100%, but
I think you're right about Jesus though. And
because I remember being very surprised that he that they both would do it, but I might be I might be completely wrong on that. I thought like Shane attempting to kill Rick I thought he would leave more than he would kill Rick. Like, I thought he would, like, wander off and, and do, like, the lone wolf thing or something. But I guess it really wasn't in his character. But can you imagine if Shane had found, like, Negan or had his own group? Like, what if, like, we rolled into season 6 and it's Negan with him as, like, his, like, instead of Dwight. Or, like, his, like, right-hand man or whatever. That would have been fascinating. Because I love both those actors, so I would watch it in a heartbeat. And then Negan being able to infiltrate the Whisperers at the behest of Carol was unexpected. I was shocked that Negan would, and then I was also shocked at how far Negan would go to accomplish his task of infiltrating. Like, he slept with Alpha, and that was just gross.
It was.
Which, I mean, whatever, but also, like, I was like, she hasn't bathed in forever, and I thought, jokingly, that Maggie should forgive him just because of that, because of how far he went. And, like, I thought a very suspicious person, like, when it comes to TV shows and movies, like, I'm always trying to figure out the surprise, and if anyone's connected, and things like that, so I thought that maybe Negan was just doing it on his own. Like, I didn't think he really, like, wanted to become a Whisperer. So when it was Carol at the end, like, about time or something, I was like, what? Carol, yay! And then I was all excited. I was like, oh, of course it was Carol.
I know, right?
And then I think in terms of, like, the best betrayal, I think Mercer being on our side at the very end was, like, so good. I was not prepared to hate him. I wasn't prepared to to not be on our group's side and for him and Princess to, like, break up. Or, just, like, not be together. And then my joking betrayal was when they let Coral name his sister after, like, his 3rd grade teacher. I was like, what? Like, how about Lori or something in, like, memoriam of, like, someone who's died, not his 3rd grade teacher. Yeah, so those were all the betrayals that I thought of, like, in the moment. And I wonder if any of mine will intersect with yours or connect with mine.
Possibly. Well, yes, I'm sure one of them will. So for thinking back, I think, well, this is a shocking moment. I think it was shocking when Sophia came out of that barn. I thought that was super pivotal for everybody. And I love that scene. I love seeing everybody's face. I think that is when, to me,
I'm sure I cried.
Daryl and Carol, I think that just something did that for them and their relationship. It just solidified for me the relationship between those two, and just seeing everybody's reaction. I just thought it was so well done. I don't think any of us expected that. It was good. It was really good. Also, that it was Carol that had killed the infected people back at the prison, and that Rick banished her. I was really shocked at both of those two things. I was shocked that Lizzie killed her sister. And then Carol having to kill Lizzie. That was really a difficult moment for her. Somebody that she really did love kids, and taking them under her wing and showing them the way. But it's like, oh no, she had to get rid of her at that point. Of course, shocking again, when Negan killed Glenn and Abraham. And that is my least watched episode, by the way. I can't watch that episode. And if we get to the moment, I have to like fast forward on it. I just can't take it. I just can't. So, and Carl, 2 times with Carl, when he got his eye shot out and also when he died, I did not know he would die because he didn't die in the comic books. And so I think I was really shocked that he died of a bite and that it was trying to save Sadiq. And so I was surprised about that. And also when Rick survives, because we didn't know at that point that he was going to survive. We knew he was leaving the show. And I thought, what are they going to do with him? They're going to kill him. And I was like dreading it. So that was actually a happy surprise for me that he ends up living. Oh, yes, he's not dead. Another shock was Jesus being killed. I wasn't expecting that either. That
such a creepy scene, though.
Yeah,
so good.
I had no idea that was going to happen and that he was going to get killed. A betrayal that I was shocked about, I had no idea, was that when Dante killed Sadiq. That was shocking. I was like, what? But then here comes Rosita in her badass moment, fighting with him. And then one of yours too is Mercer. And that was, I knew he was going to, I just didn't know when he was going to flip. And so I thought that was the best, betrayal for our group. So it was, we saw Eugene do it too, but I knew Eugene was going to flip. And also Dwight did the same thing with Negan. So there was a couple of betrayals in there of,
but do you think that Eugene actually like intended to like join the Whisperers, or was he just
you mean the Saviors? The Saviors?
Yes, yeah, sorry. The Saviors. Because I always thought he was gonna.
I didn't think so.
No, me either. I thought he was gonna go. I thought he was going over there to do like a sabotage.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. That's what I thought.
That's what I thought, but I don't think that's. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, what were you gonna say? You don't think it's what?
I think when my family and I watched it, I'm fairly certain that they were all like surprised. Or like not entirely sure, and then at the end when the bullets don't work because he like fixed he like rigged it or whatever, they were like, oh.
Well, I kept waiting. I didn't know it, but I highly suspected it. I thought he's not going to go against his group. I know he was somewhat cowardly on some things, but I thought he has, he saved Tara early on when she was going to be attacked by the walkers, and he took her in that room. And I thought, he has inklings of being a good guy. He's just afraid. And so I thought, he's not going to abandon this group. I really didn't think so. I really thought he was going to flip, and thank God he did. Okay, so let's go to, we've talked about badass moments. We've talked about betrayals and shocking moments. Okay, what were some heartbreaking moments or ones that moved you?
Oh, there are so many. I talked about this a little bit earlier, but when Jim stayed behind after being bit, that was the first time where I was like, oh, okay, we're gonna go there. Like, this isn't just gonna be, like, sad zombie, people being eaten by zombie moments. It's really gonna be like, because, like, I thought Jim was gonna be around for a while. I was like, he's only been in 4 episodes. What do you mean he's, like, done now? And then later on, when Herschel was killed, I was very close with my dad. My dad has since passed, and like it didn't even take him passing for me to be sad. And now I can't watch that because it will make me like really, really sad. And then I liked how Judith eventually like was able to soften a lot of people, but mostly her uncle Daryl, and made him like like a father figure. And I think that was the perfect thing for him to. Because he was probably always in, like, survival mode, and he still had to be with her, but he could be, like, a little softer, and that just makes my heart melt. And then Rick being reunited with his family, like, right out, like, in, like, the 2nd episode, I think. Like, can you imagine thinking, one, you wake up in this hospital bed, you're alone, you don't know where your family is, if they're even alive, then you find all of them. And it just, like, oh, the relief and just, like, oh, it just moved me. And then it was heartbreaking when father of Rosita's baby, Sadiq, is killed by Dante. That that made me really sad because Carl died trying to save a Sadiq, and I just thought, like, it wasn't for nothing, but, like, can't anyone just catch a break? And in The Walking Dead, no, they can't.
Yeah.
But it is slightly redeemed because I looked it up, and Michael Cudlitz, who was Abraham, he directed that episode, so maybe it's not as, it's kind of like a silver lining, I guess.
Yeah.
And then Alden, he died in that church alone. Like, it seems so, like, I mean, because that's what happens in real life. Like, not everything's gonna have, like, a super, like, warm, like, he's still gonna die, but people die alone, and that just, for me, is just heartbreaking. I was hoping that Alden would turn into something, especially after Enid had died, because that was so sad, because they were so cute. And he was, I think, kind of becoming, like, a blacksmith, I think, so it would have been nice to, to see him become a full blacksmith and see, like, what else he had done. And then, of course, I have to have a little joke. We never got to see what Beta looked like underneath of that mask, because, like, Daryl and Negan did a number on it, and then the walkers ate it. But Ryan Hurst is a good-looking individual, and I would have liked to have seen it. It makes me sad.
Yeah. Those are good ones. I love that. So for me, the heartbreaking moments are, and we've talked about this because it was the meme, Rick's reaction to Carl coming out and Maggie holding the baby. Oh my gosh. It was so good. It was a really moving reaction to what had just happened. So also, I agree with you with Herschel. That part, just the little smile on his face. He was so happy that Rick was doing and saying what he would have wanted him to say, for him to try to get them to work together so that there would be no more bloodshed. And so I just I just felt like Herschel was proud of Rick in that moment. And then the stupid governor goes and does what he does. It was horrible. I also thought Beth dying and Daryl carrying her body and Maggie's reaction, because I thought, Maggie hasn't seen you in so long. You finally found Glenn. You were traveling with Bob and Sasha. And finally, you didn't know if your sister was alive. You thought she was probably dead. And now you finally find out she's alive, because that's when Daryl brings Noah to them, and he finds out about Beth, and just to find out that she's dead when you go to see her, just her reaction changed from, happiness to being devastated that your sister is gone. Also, of course, Glenn's death. Oh my gosh. That was, not good. That was probably the worst moment for me. I had already mentioned Carol having to kill Lizzie. Carol gave just an Emmy-worthy performance there. It was a really good episode. That whole episode was really well done with her and Tyrese and the girls. So I thought that was a really good episode. So, and it was so hard for her. Also, the end. I had talked about the end and how moved I was with Rosita and Eugene and just their long relationship. And he says, I wouldn't be the man that I am without you. And just, it was just heartfelt, watching those two. And there's so many deaths that affected me: when Andrea died, when Tyrese died, when Sasha, gave
That's
up
a
her
badass
life
moment
to help everybody.
Sasha?
Yes, that was. When Noah died and Glenn had to see that was heartbreaking. And T-Dog, I know T-Dog was a favorite of a lot of people. So it's just a lot of the deaths of the people that we've grown to like and care about in this series. Some good moments were when Glenn and Maggie were reunited after the prison. I just thought that was really, that made me so happy. And I was so glad that they found each other. And also, after Carol had blown up Terminus and the gang gets out and they're all in the woods standing there, and Daryl sees her and goes and hugs her, man. And then Rick, shocked after he banished her, and he's like, oh my God, you did this. And then he basically apologizes, like, after what I had to do, and you were still here helping us and saving us. And I just thought that that was a really good moment between those three. So those are my favorite moments. So as we're talking about our favorite moments of the whole Walking Dead series, we're at our segment and the award goes to. And so I would like to know, what is your favorite episode, or what is your favorite season, or do you have a favorite character?
So I have a couple episodes that I really liked, but I think the first season itself, other than Vatos, was just like like so good. Like the first episode, you're in it and it's so creepy and it's just, oh, I would not want to be there. Wildfire, when we learn like just like Wildfire and TS-19, you just learn so much, and it just like it like sets up the rest of like, you know, like the rest of the show. And then I really enjoyed On the Inside, which is season 11, episode 6. It's when those people like come out of the walls and it's a crazy like incest family. Oh my goodness. Just so creepy and like a genuine horror show. Like just, I think I watched it with like the lights on, which I normally watch it in the dark or like, you know, whatever. But I was like, no, I'm having all the lights on. I need the dog near me. Like, no, thank you. And I love the different perspective that we had because of Connie and Angel being hearing impaired. Like, just so, like, it just adds to it and, like, oh, so good. And then I really liked The Calm Before, which season 9, episode 15, because it just showed how formidable the Whisperers could be. Because Alpha was able to infiltrate the communities with, like, she didn't even really break a sweat, probably. She just, like, did it. And then, you know, because of how closed off everybody was, like, everyone had this traumatic incident that happened, but instead of coming together as a community like they normally would, they chose to, like, protect themselves, which then opened them up to, you know, because I think not everyone knew what the Whisperers were or what Alpha looked like, and had they been communicating, it might not have turned out that way. But, like, I only was able to pick those, like, 5 or 6 episodes.
Yeah, there's so many.
It was hard.
Yeah.
It was so hard.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, I do think season 1 is amazing. I think everybody really enjoys that season. But for me, season 4 has always stuck out to me. It is my favorite season. When I'm watching it, I always say this is my favorite season. And I think it's because it has my favorite, how do I want to say this? Most of my favorite episodes are in that season. Internment is episode 5. The Grove is episode 14. A is episode 16. And Too Far Gone is episode 8. With Too Far Gone, which is really my favorite episode, that is unfortunately when Herschel is killed. Mm-hmm. But I also really like Internment because there's just something haunting about that episode. It's the one where Herschel is highlighted and how he tries to save everybody from this terrible virus, flu, whatever it is everybody is dying from. And Glenn is feverishly sick. And it's basically like a race against time because you're waiting for the crew that went out to get medicine, which is, I think, is Daryl and Michonne, and I think it has someone else in that group. You're waiting for them. And then you see also Rick and Carl trying to hold up the fence because all the walkers are trying to get through. So you have all these different things happening at the same time. And it's just so well done. The music is so good. There's a song in there that plays, and I thought I would remember it at this moment because I've talked about it before, and it's going to drive me crazy because I love the song that it plays. What I wanted to say about that is that I love Herschel. I really love Herschel a lot. I really miss when he passed away because I really loved his influence. I loved it on Rick. I think it was what balanced Rick out so many times. Unfortunately, Scott Wilson had passed away after, that time. And so I just think he was a great character, and those are my favorite episodes. I also really enjoyed season 3, episode 7, which I was reminded by, and it was the one with Glenn and Maggie where they're held hostage and Glenn has to fight tied to that chair because Merle leaves him there, and I think he has to dismantle one of the walkers and grab the femur bone or something to stab the other walker. It's just crazy. I remember thinking, see, another badass moment. And then what Maggie has to endure, that the governor making her undress and just making her feel the way he does. Oh, he was such a creep. I just thought that was a really good episode that I really did enjoy. But characters, it's Rick, Glenn, Herschel. Those are my favorites. But of course, I love Daryl and Carol and Michonne and Judith. And I could keep going on and on and on. So that's all I'm going to say about them. Before we wrap up this conversation on The Walking Dead, are there any other tidbits that you have?
I sort of mentioned it when we were talking, very early on, about how I love how the villains were always the people and the zombies were always still a threat, especially early on, because I don't think anyone would be, except for a survivalist, would be prepared for something like this. And so you're learning how to navigate this brand new world, figuring out, is that my neighbor? Is that what's going on in there, and all that kind of stuff. And so I liked how after our people figured some things out, then it became other humans that were the enemy and the villain.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem to matter what sort of apocalypse is being dealt with. Humans are life ruiners. We're just horrible to each other, and it doesn't take, there's the Stanford prison experiment where it took people 5 minutes to turn on their other people. And so I like how that was kind of steady throughout the whole, the whole show. And as much as I enjoy The Walking Dead, and I've watched the spin-offs, and I will watch I've seen Fear the Walking Dead, and I'll watch the spin-offs, I don't want to see a reboot or anything for quite a while. I think it would be way too soon. And unless they were to do some other, but I guess that would just be a spin-off. If they could, I guess it wouldn't be the worst thing if they, did it more faithful to the comic book, or wanted to continue, but I don't want to see any Ricks or Carls or things like that. And at the very, very end, actually, upon a second watch, I noticed that Rick throws his backpack into a boat, which I think is how Michonne was able to get the backpack.
Right.
And I missed that the first time completely. But do we know where he's supposed to be? Is it New York?
Isn't he? Oh, I know where he's at, and I can't think of it because it's what. Oh, you didn't see The World Beyond. That's why you don't know. It's tied to The World Beyond.
Okay.
And right now the name escapes me.
Okay. I can look it up.
Yeah. So the only thing that I want to quickly just mention is, The Talking Dead started because of The Walking Dead. And it's because The Walking Dead was so popular that The Talking Dead started, which I love because it is one of my favorite shows. And I love watching people talk The Walking Dead and getting to visit all the actors and the directors and the showrunners and fans and everything else. So I just really love that The Walking Dead was able to incorporate this after show. And I love that. And I love all the strong female characters that have been on the show. There are not a lot of series or movies that really highlight so many strong women. And I love that The Walking Dead was able to do that. I know we still have a long way to go, but I feel like at least we could see women that were so strong. They didn't need anyone else to survive. They could do it on their own. And I also love the music. I always have loved the music. Oh, and I think the name of that song that I was thinking of, I'm not absolutely sure, but I think it's Oats in the Water by Ben Howard, if that's the correct song. So if anybody wants to check that out, I just love that song. To me personally, music really connects me with an episode. So if the music's good, then it works even more so for me.
I have something to say about that when we're talking about The Last of Us.
Okay.
So
I do want to say I read somewhere that The Walking Dead is shot completely on 16 millimeter film because I always wondered why it always looks so good to me compared to other shows. I always thought when they're outside, why does it look, I just love the look that it has. And I didn't realize it was because of the way that they film it. So I just think that's very cool in itself. And the finale was titled Rest in Peace. And I think it was a throwback to when they were all in the barn before Aaron got them to come with him. I think there was a moment where Rick's talking about The Walking Dead and about his grandfather. And his grandfather would say he would go to war every day, but then he would remind himself to rest in peace every night. And eventually his grandfather returned home, which is exactly what Rick did in the series finale. So it was kind of that's nice. A callback to that. So I thought that was pretty cool. Okay, let's just quickly talk about the spinoffs. And you had kind of already talked about what you thought about them, but I just want to update everybody with the spinoffs. There's The Walking Dead, Dead City with Maggie and Negan. There's the Daryl Dixon set in France, and there's the Rick and Michonne spinoff. And also Fear the Walking Dead. It was just announced not too long ago that this will be the 8th and final season, and it will premiere on May 14th of this year. This will be the part 1 of 2 for the final season, and part 2 coming later. The second segment will experience a 7-year time jump, which this is the first that I heard about it. So I was already, my mind was blown today reading that. So I thought, ooh, they're going to jump ahead 7 years. I wonder if all this is going to tie in the end somewhere. I'm wondering if that is why. My mind
that makes sense though.
Yeah, my wheels started turning when I read that. So the Dead City is supposed to premiere in June of this year. And after, I believe, Fear the Walking Dead. And then the Daryl Dixon should be released later in this year at 2023. And it's set in France, like I said, where Daryl gets washed up and doesn't know how he's there and has to deal with. And also, that is where the variant walkers are from. So now he has to deal with a lot. So that I'm actually afraid for Daryl when he goes to this new place for him. And then Rick and Michonne, I think, has started filming this month, February 2023, and that is supposed to come out in 2024. So that is what I know about the spinoffs. Do you have any thoughts about any of those?
The only ones I'm probably really going to watch, I mean, I say this, I'll probably end up watching them all, but I'm really interested in the one we're going to be in France because of the variants, because that brings back another element of like spookiness and like actual like fear. That's the one I'm most curious about, I think. And I really just hope that for all of the spinoffs and all of the shows that it's just like a clean story and everything makes sense. Like, I'm terrified how they're going to explain how Daryl got to France. Like, and I'm just not confident that we're going to get there. And I'm just afraid that that's going to ruin it. Or like, I mean,
right.
Like for me, because that's, but, and then how do Negan and Maggie end up in NYC together? Like, she hates him. She just said she sometimes couldn't look at him. Does his wife know? Did she get kidnapped? Is that why he's there? Like, just like all those things. And maybe I should have a little more faith and like that they'll get there and everything will be, fine. But, I don't really watch Fear the Walking Dead only because it's not on Hulu yet. And when it's on Hulu, then I'll catch up and watch it. Maybe just in time to watch it on AMC, like on our cable. But I'm so far behind. I can't even imagine like where they are right now.
I know they've come a long way, being 8 seasons. I don't know when you dropped off watching it. So with Negan and Maggie, of course, I love them as characters. So I'm, I want to see what happens. And I keep thinking something happens with their kids and that's why they're together to go find them. Or maybe because they're the bravest and the most badass out of the group that is willing to do that. I don't really know. I am looking forward to Daryl because I'm afraid for him. And so now I want to know how he's going to survive. Like, what is it going to take? What do these variant walkers look like? So I'm afraid, and that's why I want to see that. But Rick and Michonne, I have to see the end of their story because for me, The Walking Dead has not ended yet. because of them. Because for me, I have to see what happens. And I wonder how that'll happen because there's only supposed to be, I think, 6 episodes. And I think to myself, how are you going to get back to your kids? Are they just going to write it out? Is Michonne going to say, we're coming back to, together to see you? Mm-hmm. Is it going to be that simple? Or are we actually going to see it? Because for me, I would love to see it, but I don't know that we'll get to with just 6 episodes. Mm-hmm. If that's really all there is, of course, we don't know because things change all the time. So I don't know. I don't know what'll happen, but we shall see. So stay tuned, right? Stay tuned. I am hoping for the best for all of them. We will see what happens. But I do say my heart misses The Walking Dead. So I'm looking forward to any spinoffs. I understand you being hesitant on everything because I feel you. I get it. I know what you mean. So I just hope they don't mess up anything. There are new showrunners, so that makes a difference too. Maybe it'll breathe new life into it. Maybe it won't. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see.
All right. Wraps up our conversation on The Walking Dead. Let's talk a little bit about The Last of Us. There's only been 5 episodes so far. The series is based on a video game and takes place in a world that has been destroyed by a pandemic. And we get to know Joel and Ellie, and they have to rely on each other for survival on their journey across what is left of the United States as they face challenges and a brutal environment. Like I said, there have been 5 episodes at this point. So what do you think of the series?
Oh my God, I love it. I love it so much. I'm not a video game person at all. I don't like watching them. I don't like playing them. But in 2013, when the game had come out, my fiance was like, can you watch this like first little bit? And I was like, well, okay. So we sat down, we watched it, and I was like, that's a beautiful game. I like the story, yada, yada, yada. Didn't hear anything else about it because like, that's all he wanted to show me. And then flash forward to like almost 10 years ago, the show's coming out and I'm like, well, we're going to watch, like, and he's like, yeah, we're going to watch. So we sit down and from like moment one, I cared about the characters entirely too much. The show is beautifully shot. The music is just bananas. Like talking about a scene where you listen to it and it evokes this emotion in episode 3. That song, actually, I listened to it a whole bunch. It's so beautiful, but it's so emotional. And it's just, it shows you, I love the parallels between the different characters and stuff like that. Episode 3 basically broke me and my fiance. We just sat there in silence for like a little bit, and to care so much about characters you met like half an hour ago just shows you how great the writing and how the acting is. Like Nick Offerman, my God, that's so good.
Yeah.
And even they have like episodes I'm not like, I don't hate the episodes or anything, but it's like considered a weaker episode. It still is fantastic and is better than half of the stuff that's on a TV right now. I can't wait. I'm actually kind of sad that there's only going to be like 3 seasons of this. Like they're not doing any more, and that makes me sad.
Is there going to be 3 seasons?
Yeah, that's it.
Ah, okay. Mm-hmm. That's kind of good to know. I like that though.
There are 2 games, and then I don't know if they're going to do, there's like a thing in the middle. I don't know. It's a video game thing, but it's like a side story. So I'm so excited. How about you though? What do you think?
I am really, really enjoying it. Didn't know what to expect. I knew it was based on a video game, but that's all. Mm-hmm. And I love these actors as it is. I love Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. I loved them in Game of Thrones, and also Pedro as the Mandalorian. I really enjoyed him there. So in the first episode, when there is still a world and we learn about him and his daughter, I thought that kind of sucked you in, and, you got to know a little bit about him and his daughter and his brother. So I thought that was a really good beginning. But I will say in the first 2 episodes, I felt a dread watching both of those, and not kind of not in a good way. And I don't know if it's because of The Walking Dead. I've lived in that apocalyptic world and been immersed in that apocalyptic world. And I thought, do I want to do this again? Can I do this again? It kind of could take a lot out of you in a way, which I didn't realize. Like, I didn't know I felt like that. That's just what I was experiencing watching this. And I didn't know if I wanted to see a bleakness that I was being shown. So, but when we got to the third episode and it had to do with a couple, and I'm not going to give anything away for the people that haven't seen it yet, but it has to do with a couple and love through the years. And so that really sucked me in. I was 100% connected. I was scared. I was moved, and I was satisfied. So it worked for me. Now, I knew that episode wouldn't be like how all the other episodes went, but I still feel like it did suck me in. Of course, the music, I knew that song going in because I know Linda Ronstadt because I love her voice. So,
oh no, I don't. I'm sorry.
Not that song.
I don't mean that song. No, I don't.
Oh, a different song.
Yeah, no, it's
Is it the regular music?
Yeah. So, so it's whenever he's cooking food at like the very end. That beautiful, like, it's like a piano and like a violin, and it's like really sad. Yeah, I'm much more of like an instrumental. That's why I like Bear McCreary so much, because he does like a lot of that. But I'd never heard that song before. I'm actually pretty sad that I've never really listened to her.
I knew it was her, right? Because when they were at the piano and they both play it, I recognized it right off because I know the song. And I thought, oh, I love that. So I love that they played it then. And then they play it, I don't know if they play it 3 times or not, but then we see Joel play it also.
Yep.
The song just meant a lot to me hearing it through there. But yes, also the music, like you said, the music throughout, the instrumentals, it does mean a lot. It brings so much to what we're watching, evoking different emotions. So that episode really kind of reeled me in. And the 2 episodes after that, we see the connection between Joel and Ellie, and that has grown so much, which I have appreciated so much more. So I think this last episode that we saw, again, I'm not going to spoil anything from it for anybody, but I think that we're seeing, because Joel has been hardened by his experience. And so we see his relationship change with Ellie. And I really saw it in this last episode, and I really appreciated it. So I just, I'm excited. I'm excited to see the next episode, and it's been really good. And I know a lot of people that are watching it, and a lot of people like it. So if you have not seen it, tune in. If you have seen it, you know what it's about. And we like it here too. So, okay. So that wraps up our conversation on The Walking Dead and The Last of Us. I would love to ask you what you're currently watching and if you have any TV or movie recommendations.
Yeah. So I've been watching the TV show called You on Netflix. It follows a lonely white man who murders a bunch of people, and there's like a good music in it. It's like a trashy thing to watch that it's just really interesting. And then we watched The Big Brunch, which is on HBO. And that's kind of like the American version of the Great British Baking Show, just a lot of like wholesome and delicious things. And then lately for movies, I watched Dante's Peak the other day, which is on Hulu. And then on Netflix, there are 2 documentaries. One's called Volcano, The Rescue from Whaakari, which is about a volcano thing. And then Aftershock, it's the Everest and Nepal earthquake. And both of those are just, you're in awe of Mother Nature and then also horrified by what has happened, and just so good.
Amazing. Cool. I've watched quite a few things, but I'm going to narrow this down. For a TV show, I am watching Tulsa King. It's on Paramount Plus. It's with Sylvester Stallone. I am binging it. Every episode ends with something pivotal happening. And so I can't not keep watching it. It is a Taylor Sheridan created series.
Ooh.
And Stallone plays this New York mafia capo who is released from prison after 25 years because he was protecting the family. But when he gets out, the family sends him to Tulsa because they're trying to just get rid of him because things have changed in the last 25 years. And he decides that he needs to probably get his own crew together because they're probably going to try and come and kill him. So it's crime drama and it's really good and well done. So check that out. Also, I just saw Black Panther, Wakanda Forever on Disney Plus. And I really liked it. It was really good. Did you see it?
I loved it so much.
Yeah.
I sobbed like 3 different times. And I guess I'm a crier, but like not in public. Oh my gosh. So good.
Yeah. It was really well done. And I loved Chadwick Boseman. And so I really wondered how it was going to be handled. I thought it was handled really well. Perfectly. The best that it could be without him being in it. It was just really good. I saw the movie Sick on Peacock. If you like horror slasher movies, you can watch this. It was decent. It's about 2 young women quarantined at a secluded lakeside house with an unexpected visitor. And it's funny because COVID is the backdrop. Once you get to the ending, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'm going to say, for me personally, it became this little bit of a comedic twist.
Oh,
a little bit of a black comedy for me. And so I thought, I don't know if that was its intention, but it was very interesting. I also watched Your Place or Mine with Reese Witherspoon and Ashton Kutcher, and I actually really liked it. It got just mediocre reviews, and I thought, maybe it's not going to be that good. I really liked it. Of course, I love Reese Witherspoon, and I really almost like anything she's in. So I just thought it was a really cute movie. It's a little bit different, I thought. It made it sound like it was going to be very formulaic with the reviews, but and maybe it is, but still their stories are different. I liked it. So I would recommend watching that. Okay, Sam, thank you so much for joining me today and for being able to revisit The Walking Dead because I do love it so much. So I loved hearing everything that you had to say and all your recommendations and also your insights on The Last of Us. I'm excited and I can't wait for the rest of the episodes and to hear what you have to say about them. I'm really excited.
Thank you so much for having me on. This was a ton of fun. I don't have anyone really talk about The Walking Dead with, so when I get to talk about it, I get just more excited. And I remember all the good things, and it was a ton of fun. And I really enjoyed, I'll probably have to check out that Your Place or Mine, because I saw the reviews and thought, I don't know.
That's what I thought too, and I almost didn't watch, but I liked it. I also saw Shotgun Wedding, which I wouldn't recommend right now. It has J-Lo.
Love her.
If you're gonna pick one, you should pick the Reese Witherspoon one.
Okay, so. I love her. I love her more than a lot of people.
Yeah. Okay, that's our show. Thanks for tuning in. We are grateful you tuned in, and we hope something that we said today resonated with you, gave you a chuckle, some happiness, some positivity, or inspiration. Please subscribe to our website and follow Screens in Focus at screensinfocus.com. You can always email me at screensinfocus@gmail.com and connect with us through any of our social media at Screens in Focus. We'll be releasing a new episode in a couple of weeks. Next show will be on the Oscars. You can find our website listed in our show notes. We'll see you next time. Bye. Bye.